Getting beat up by 9 guys at Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jarod Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. The Stone Cold
I have received an email.
Don't forget to email the show at heeltotheface@hotmail.com.
Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah, New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it!
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jarod.
I might as well tag me up with my buddy from Syracuse.
Live from Syracuse, New York, this is the Heel to the Face podcast for what I believe now is the third week of July 2017. The summer is just flying by. The final pay-per-view, Raw or SmackDown, before SummerSlam comes to you this Sunday from Philadelphia. But either way, it has been a busy week in the world of professional wrestling, and once again, we are here to break it down for you. We are joined this week with Brandon, the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21, and myself, Jarod, Just Jarod Wicks. But most importantly, if you're going to follow any Twitter accounts, make sure to follow the show at Heel to the Face. That's where you can find our Twitter question of the week, as well as the podcast itself. We post direct links so that you have really only one stop. There is no website. There is no real email address you got to worry too much about. If you just follow the Twitter account, you are golden, and you will keep up with everything related to the show. And speaking of the show, we had some shows this week, Raw and SmackDown. As always, SmackDown, pretty much just a throwaway edition of SmackDown. So we move things over to Raw, where the disappointment of 3 hours ensued.
Yeah. It's great. Hey, by the way, it's glad to be back. It was a nice vacation up north. So I missed you guys last week. So it's good to be back here in the studio with you guys. Well, minus Paul, but we'll talk to him soon. But going into the Raw, I was so excited for this Kurt Angle thing. I'm like, man, what are we in for? And we were talking before the show. Stephanie McMahon, maybe there was an affair going on there. I thought maybe Dixie Carter was involved. I mean,
everybody who thought it was American Alpha said Chad Gable. Nobody said Jason Jordan. So, I mean, that was probably, I will say it was a surprise in an aspect of it was nobody thought Jason Jordan. But at the same time, it was a surprise. But they've given us a lot of these surprises that are surprises, but they're disappointments. And that's really what this was. It was a disappointment because here's the problem. You're going to now propel this person. So they're going to propel Jason Jordan. And me personally, I don't really care to see Jason Jordan so much propelled.
Here's my thing. We were talking before the show. And my thing is, if you're going to pick anybody from American Alpha, you go with the Olympian Chad Gable. It makes more sense. Honestly, Jason Jordan, without Chad Gable's presence, would not be on the main roster at all, to be honest with you. When he was in NXT, and you guys know I am a big NXT fan, I watch the show just about every week, and he was just floundering. I figured, this guy's going to be a career NXT. Okay, he's got to find another tag team partner because he can't win with certain people. And then here comes this guy, this Olympic wrestler, Chad Gable, and they took off. They took off and they tore the house down. I mean, I fell in love right away. I mean, they had these great maneuvers they did together. They showed their technical ability. But to me, and I've always said this, Chad Gable was the guy to watch. Jason Jordan, yes, he's a bigger guy, this and that. But Chad Gable was more fun. He reminded me a lot of the guy we've been talking about, Kurt Angle. He had like this style between Kurt Angle and a little bit of Daniel Bryan because of his size and just like the way he carries himself. I honestly, this whole move with Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan, Jason Jordan being his son, I think this is going to be better for Chad Gable. I think this is going to be a chance for the WWE fans to see him as a singles competitor. I think you're going to see a future champion in him. I will say United States Intercontinental Champion, give him another year or so, and I think he is in the hunt for that.
But it's not just Jason Jordan I don't want to see propelled. I don't really care to see anybody of American Alpha propelled. I was hoping that this announcement would propel us to closer to being a Kurt Angle match. How does this get us closer to a Kurt Angle return WWE match? I don't care about Jason Jordan. I don't care about Chad Gable. I want Kurt Angle back in the ring. I was hoping this would be the Stephanie McMahon announcement, because then that would start to lead us down the path of Kurt Angle versus Triple H. Maybe at SummerSlam, maybe all the way to WrestleMania, but either way, that would start us on that. I want to see Kurt Angle in the ring. I don't care to see Jason Jordan or Chad Gable.
I think this is what's going to happen. I mean, they kind of blew the opportunity because they made this surprise like a huge deal. Corey Graves was kind of doing his thing, setting it up. I thought maybe even Corey Graves was going to be involved some way, shape, or form in it. I mean, we come to find out he's good friends with Jason Jordan. We found that out later on. But I can see Kurt Angle and Triple H at WrestleMania next year.
How out of this?
Out of this? No idea. But maybe they can play something up where down the line, Jason Jordan, and this could be completely out of your mind, but
it can't be Stephanie McMahon's kid.
No, I mean, I could see. Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely can't be Stephanie's. But I can see something where Jason Jordan is on his way up. He's doing big things, because this is obviously the company sees a lot in him to use him as Kurt Angle's son for programming. So obviously they're gonna push him like hell, one would think. So the only logical thing I could come up with is maybe Jason Jordan is getting this push. He's tearing down the house. He's doing big things. Kurt Angle's there to kind of guide him up the totem pole, so to speak. And then maybe something happens where he gets attacked by Triple H. I don't know. I don't know. It's a very, very, very odd predicament. I still see something happening with Triple H, Kurt Angle. I still think that is going to be a WrestleMania match. Why they did the Jason Jordan thing, it's completely ass backwards, to be honest with you. But how they do it, I have no idea. But I still think maybe it's more hoping than thinking, I guess. More hoping that Triple H and Kurt Angle square off in the squared circle, next in this upcoming WrestleMania. So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. I hope Jason Jordan, I hope this works out for him. But I'm honestly out of the two. Chad Gable, I think, is going to do better.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Chad Gable now that this is all over. Chad Gable's still on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So now it's completely broken. I wish if they wanted to propel them, I wish they would have done something with American Alpha itself, kind of similar to what they're doing with the Usos, where they kind of rebranded them, keep them as a tag team, and get us interested in them as a tag team. I know that people were interested in them as a tag team, and they were a good tag team, but
yeah,
I wasn't super interested. So if you wanted to do something with American Alpha, you could have done something where you, like I said, you kind of repackaged them. That's what they're doing right now with the Usos. They're kind of repackaging the Usos, and you could have done that with them. And then that might have gotten our interest a lot higher on some of these guys. Or you know what? I know it's so predictable, and I know they're doing it with Enzo and Cass, but I want to see Jason Jordan by himself a little bit before I care to want to see him by himself, I guess. And because I've never seen him really by himself, other than, you talking about the times in NXT, it would have. I don't say they should have broke up and then fought like Enzo and Cass are doing right now, or like the Hardy Boys, but they could have done something where they kind of went their own ways for a little bit, and then Jason Jordan was the son.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, that's probably not a bad way of going about it, but you know how WWE is; they always throw things, throw different curveballs at you. And speaking of getting together at a later date, separating the team and getting them at a future date. Speaking of that, the Shield. We got a little bit of a mini Shield reunion.
We've gotten a bunch of those recently, a lot of those Shield reunions.
It's interesting. I mean, here's the best part. And honestly, it was probably my favorite part on the show on Monday night was when you have Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. You have them in the ring. I like that whole back and forth. Like Seth is like, all right, man, you know what? Here, I'm going to turn my back. Hit me with the damn chair. You know, that was the highlight of the night. It was the first 10 minutes of the show. I enjoyed that part of it, and then you see that you see later on that they're in the locker room and Kurt Angle's like, well, all right, we'll give you a tag team match. You can face any two of the Miz Taraj of your choosing, and of course Dean Ambrose being the lunatic fringe that he is, he's like, yeah, you know what? Let's take on all three. So I mean, we kind of transition a little bit there, but that'll be interesting. The thing I want to see, and I know this isn't probably going to happen, but I do want to see the whole Shield, the whole group, the whole trio back together. I don't see that happening. I mean, we'll get into more of the WWE Universal Championship stuff a little bit more later on in the show, but I think that part where I think Roman's in a different tier right now than Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Can we say that right now? I don't think Seth Rollins is. I don't think he's he's got the video game stuff going on, but he's one of those guys where he can take losses, and he still comes out smelling like roses. Like Bray Wyatt's the same way. I mean, we finally get to see wins out of him. But people still believe in, Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins is he's middling a little bit. I think he's below the top part of the card. I think he's more top. He's not mid card, but he's not top card. He's kind of stuck in the middle. But I think
I do see that as well.
I do like that. I do think it's good because I do like this whole Miz Taraj thing. I'm a big fan of it. I think this brings life into our third generation superstars, Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. I think they're finally getting utilized. I'm not saying, let's push them into, main event status. No, but I think it's good that they're utilizing these guys, and I think it's perfect. This is a nice little group that they have here. Maybe they build these guys up where if you had them face off with the Shield in the future battle, you're not like, the Shield's just going to crush them. You know what I mean? And maybe they build it up where, okay, Bo Dallas isn't a joke or a laughing stock, or Curtis Axel, that's the guy that, was Paul Heyman guy and then did nothing. You know what I mean? So he got hyped up because he was a Paul Heyman guy, and then he fell flat. Maybe they built something up there. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm curious, speaking of, newer things on the Raw program that I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying Elias Sampson. I think that guy is a hell of a wrestler. I think he's a hell of a wrestler. I love his gimmick. I do like the match that he had with. I like these matches he's had with Finn Balor. I mean, anyone that gets in the ring with Finn Balor, I think has a good match, anyways. But Samson can carry guys. This guy's a good wrestler. He's not, he's not a high flyer. He's just one of those guys where he's getting in there. He's handling his business. I will say the guitar shot, man. I think he missed the target a little bit because Balor was messed up.
Good.
Yeah, he was busted open pretty good. But I do like the gimmick. I really enjoy it. I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. I mean, what are your takeaways on Elias Sampson right now? I mean, is it still too early for you? I mean, I've been following him since NXT, so I've been a proponent of his for a while, anyways.
I think I'd like to see him in more matches, less of the guitar promos, more promos, less of because it just seems like it's similar to the SmackDown thing with the Maria and Mike Kanellis, where it's just that same promo over and over again.
Yeah. And
they just keep, rehashing it. I think it's time for Elias Sampson to get, more vocal, less vocal in the ring in that sense, more vocal with backstage interviews, stuff happening, like I said, backstage.
Yeah.
More matches, maybe getting involved in some mixed tag team matches, not mixed in the sense of gender, but mixed in the sense of, with other members of Raw, just being more than just that promo over and over, because it's the same promo over and over again. So I'm getting a little tired of that promo. I want to start seeing him branch out. I want to start seeing them.
Instead of him being backstage, walking around playing his guitar, like they, what's her name? One of the
actual setup matches, not him in the ring and then somebody comes and then they have a match. Like a match where his entrance hits, he comes to the ring and goes right at it.
Or, I mean, I agree with that. Or he sits there with, what the heck's her name? That's that little backstage reporter, whatever her name is. She's good, but I would like to see him, doing something like that where, they interview him before the match, and they ask him, okay, what are your thoughts going into this match against Finn Balor type of thing, where he kind of hypes up the match a little bit. I do understand that. His guitar thing, I think it's a good little thing that he's got going for him. I think it's different, it's fresh, but I do agree to a point where maybe they should have more backstage interviews. Maybe, like you said, the entrance hits and he comes down and does his thing that way. I agree with that. But here's my thing. WWE obviously has some stock in this guy Because why would you have him right off the bat and, pretty much brand new on the main roster facing the likes of Dean Ambrose, Finn Balor?